Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by MasaeAnela.
Hello!
And we're here to discuss the single-player trailer for Splatoon 2, now that our analysis is finished. So let's get started. Alright, Masae, so we just had the Direct this week, we got a brand new trailer for Splatoon 2, and we finally have an idea of what the single player is going to be like. And I actually got that freaking massive analysis done. Holy crap. As soon as
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
It was really good.
I appreciate that because, I mean, when I first saw that trailer, I even said this in our initial reactions to this in the Direct. I'm like, oh god, this analysis is going to be a nightmare, and yeah, it was. But what did you think of the trailer?
I thought it was incredible. Like there was so much just thrown at you all at once, and just like all of the information that's just like pelted into you as soon as it gets started. And it's just like, wow, all of these new things that we've never seen before. It gets me really pumped for the single player aspect of Splatoon 2.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned this several times, but again, I don't think anybody expected Splatoon's single player to be as good as it was. It really caught everybody off guard because it looked fine, but the main draw was definitely the multiplayer. But then you play it, and oh my gosh, it's fun. It really gets you into things, and those bosses.
Agreed, they're super creative.
Yeah.
And like I feel like the difficulty ramping was just good enough and just gradual enough that it really got you acquainted to jump into the multiplayer as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think the developers are definitely going to have to really top themselves this time around because there's so much more expectation for it this time around. Like one of the things I was most excited to see was the single player. Like we got those hints of the Octarians in the previous trailers, but this is the first time we really got to see them in action, all the different forms, and I think they did it. I mean, just by this initial impressions, it looks like they just took what worked and just made it so much better.
Oh yeah, definitely. I will say that I feel like as much as I did love the single player of the first game, I did think that it had a lot of room for improvement. Not to say that it was bad in any sort of the way, but it's just when you play it over again after you're already familiar with the game and already good with the controls and acquainted with everything, when you go back and play it, some of it is kind of repetitive, some of it does repeat itself from time to time. Like you see the same gimmicks appear later in the worlds, and I feel like with the introduction of some of the new features that were shown off in this trailer, that will definitely remedy a lot of how I felt like it could have had more.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. Like there are some really good ideas in place for the original Splatoon, but there was definitely a sense that this could still be better, and I think we're really seeing that in effect here. Between we saw the returning sponge blocks, and I mean to me the biggest new feature, the one that caught my eye immediately, is the grind rails.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Because to me, that's quintessential Splatoon. Like, Splatoon is such a celebration of the 90s, and the 90s is also all about skateboarding and rail grinding, and heck yeah, do it.
Just heck yes, do it.
Yeah, it's all about the extreme.
Totally rad, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, even like in the 90s, like this is a little off topic, but 90s, I remember there being like this whole anarchist fad, and like there's an anarchist clothing line in the game now. Like that is so perfect.
Yeah.
It's just so great. But yeah, what was your reaction when you first saw rail grinding?
I was super excited about it. I saw it and I was just like, whoa, this completely changes everything. And it's like, especially considering you can shoot while rail grinding, I feel like that opens up a lot of potential for new gameplay mechanics, new boss battles, new fights, new everything, honestly. And it's like I feel like perhaps they might introduce rail jumping, something akin to the Sonic series. I, of course, don't know if they would actually do that, but I feel like it's a possibility, and that's something that immediately jumped in my head. I was like, oh man, Sonic.
Yeah. No, I think that's probably was in everybody's head because any rail grinding character, you're immediately going to think of Sonic. And yeah, it'd be cool to see them take that extra step and like have to shift rails and shoot things. Like it almost makes it a little bit like Ratchet and Clank, where you have to kind of do the same thing there. And yeah, it's just a really good idea, and it fits the setting so well. And I like how crazy they can get. Like we see that ink rail weaving in between that mechanical octopus, and it just looks so cool. And there's that other screenshot of going around that tower shooting at the Octarians. Like there's some really cool ideas they can do here and get some really dynamic camera angles to just make it a spectacle.
Exactly. That definitely has me super pumped. I was thinking about this actually just while we were talking about the grind rails just now. And we were mentioning, right before we got started with this, we were talking about how it pretty much feels like the replacement for the ink rails. Mm-hmm. Something that I did think of that is different between the two, that the ink rails might still have a place, is that I feel like with the grind rails, you probably would not be able to change your direction. That feels like a one-way track all the way down.
That's very true. I did not think about that because I actually put forth the idea in the analysis that the grind rails could completely replace the ink rails, just because it's much more dynamic. You can actually shoot while it keeps the player involved, unlike the ink rails. And
right.
You do bring up a good point that you can go back, but I'm trying to think to the original Splatoon. Was there ever really a point to go back other than just, oh, I missed something, I need to go back to where it came from?
Not necessarily go back, but keep in mind that you have the ability to go straight up and down. That's also something that we could see in level design, just going through grates and through and like down the side of a wall. Whereas I feel like with the grind rails, you would be more limited to a downward slope instead of straight up and down movement, or sharp angles for that matter.
That's a really good point. Actually, if they did find a way to integrate the two, there could be some really cool obstacles that you go through where, like you talked about rail jumping, maybe jump from the grind rail to an ink rail so you can go through a grate and then immediately get on the grind rail again because it's moving forward. So we don't see it from behind. We don't know if it's a continuous thing or not, or maybe it will dry up as it goes behind you and you only have this limited section. But wouldn't that be cool if you have to jump from a grind rail into an ink rail, get through a grate, get back on the grind rail before it disappears behind you?
That would be amazing. I would be all down for that.
Yeah, that's so many great ideas they can integrate. You bring up a really good point, because when I saw that the Masae Towers were in the single player, but they had grind rails instead, obviously it was a remixed layout for it as far as where the rails were. I'm like, I really do wonder if they could be just a full-on replacement.
And I mean, they might be. They might be going more in that direction and more towards a fast-paced single-player campaign. Mm-hmm. That's totally a possibility too. But I just think that there is a place for both, even if the grind rails do take the forefront in Splatoon 2, because they're nice and new and shiny,
Yeah, you can really impress. You guys show off those sick moves of your Inkling jumping and shooting the dualies between their legs.
Oh man, you know it.
That's just badass. But what else stood out to you about the single player that you spotted?
I love the style. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I love the direction that they're going with the style. Like this isn't really anything to do with the gameplay or anything like that, because to me the big thing that I was super excited about was the grind rails. That was the thing that immediately caught my attention. I was just like, oh man, that just blows everything out of the water now. Everything has changed. Mm-hmm. But I do love the motif and the style and how it feels. I don't know how to explain this, but it almost feels a little bit more rustic than what the previous game had.
I kind of when you say it like that, I kind of agree. Just because we don't see the harsher elements of the single player that we saw before. Like, we still get a few cityscapes, but some of the backgrounds are honestly kind of beautiful. Like the beach, that's gorgeous. It's so bright and colorful. There's that one moment where you're above the what looks to be an Octarian city, where you can see the city and the lights below. Another time it's like has snow in it. Like, it's actually some really pretty scenes. It still has this sort of weird vibe to it all because there's just strange objects in the sky and everything else. Like, it still feels like Octo Valley, but you're right that it also has a very different identity to it. And I might as well jump into this now. I wonder if that has to do with Callie.
It might. It very well might.
I'm pretty sure she was not doing this voluntarily. Like, she's probably under some mind control. I mean, we don't actually know exactly what her role is, just that she's definitely that figure at the top of that poster,
Right.
Like, if she actually ends up being DJ Octavio's number 2. And
that would be really cool. I'm just saying, but I am a sucker for the whole, like, I don't know if I'd say betrayal element, but just that feeling that something's not quite right with someone that we once held super dear to us. Like, that's something that I've always had a fascination with, and for it to be Callie of all people, it's like the really cheerful, bubbly one to suddenly potentially be evil.
That's true, and Callie is your favorite, so.
I do love Callie. Callie is my buddy.
Yep, you gotta save her. No, you're right, and I love that dynamic they did, because obviously it was based on who won the Splatfest, and since Marie's the one that won, they focused it on Callie, but you could easily see them just sort of swapping out a few key things here, and it could have been Marie instead, and that's so brilliant to work in that aspect of it. And I'm curious exactly what that the Splatfest has to do with anything, whether there is jealousy involved, because I assume that you did read the Squid Sisters stories.
I actually have not yet.
Oh, no, you totally got to.
I definitely will. I just haven't had time to sit down with it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I also didn't want to get stuck on a chapter because it hasn't been released yet and then just kind of cry to myself waiting for it, so I just want to blow it all out of the way at once.
Well, you can do that now because the latest chapter was the last chapter. Like, it was.
Yes!
Because it was actually building up to the single player trailer.
Yes!
And it's all setting up to why Callie is missing and all that. So you can dive right into it. And it's really cool to get this sense of what Marie's thoughts were after the win for Splatfest, and the concern that did this drive a wedge between them despite not seeming to at first. And she has all this doubt, and you don't really... they never mention how Callie feels about the Splatfest. Just that they've kind of grown apart because of their own busy schedules, and it's really fascinating about what that could mean. And I'm a sucker for that kind of thing where you get this sort of lore built in, and Splatoon has such great lore and just general storytelling where they don't tell you everything, but just enough for you to get a sense.
Right, and then you have to figure a lot of it out for yourself. Like, I do really like that too.
I did see some... I don't know where I saw this at, but I saw some comments was like, oh, this doesn't seem new at all. We're still fighting DJ Octavio. We still got to rescue the great Zapfish. It's all the same. And it's like, that's kind of this... they kind of have a point, but I think the Marie... the Callie angle is really what makes this so different and feel much more unique.
Definitely. And we don't know what direction it's going to take, really. I mean, as opposed to last time, the Zapfish apparently has been gone for a while now, as made obvious by, the regression in technology.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty interested to see, what direction that might take. Maybe the Great Zapfish won't have as big of an impact as we're initially thinking.
I'm still I'm honestly, what my personal hopes are for this, and it might seem weird, is I'm really hoping that some sort of peace can be formed between the Octarians and the Inklings, because I want to play as Octolings in the multiplayer.
Hey, you know, that is actually a really good point, because in Splatoon 1, there was that unused Octoling model that was circling around for a while. To think that was in the works and something that they were thinking of doing, you never know. That might actually be the direction that they're heading in with this.
Yeah, Nintendo never lets an idea go to waste. And
Nope.
if it doesn't happen here, it's eventually going to happen. And the Octolings are popular. Like, they are really well designed.
Yeah, they definitely are.
So yeah, that's what I'd like to see. But who knows what's actually going to happen? But another thing I really like about what they've shown of the single player so far is the fact that you can have every single weapon type in use. Don't know exactly how it's going to be structured or not, whether it's you get it at the beginning of the stage or you have a limited selection when you go to a checkpoint, or you automatically switch weapons when you reach a checkpoint or whatever. But we see the Slosher, the Splatling, the Roller, the Charger, even like the Ink Brush and the Blaster, which I was shocked to see. Like, I was expecting the very basics, but they even got into those types, and I'm like, that is such a brilliant idea, especially because they've stated that the single player still serves as a way for newcomers to get used to the mechanics of Splatoon, so they're ready for the multiplayer.
Exactly, and I do feel like that was one shortcoming of the first game, is that really the only option you had, unless you got into the amiibo, was the splatter shot for the single player campaign. And even though, yes, that is the most basic of all of the guns that you can use, that doesn't even scratch the surface of the different types of gameplay that you can have once you hop into the multiplayer.
Yeah, it is.
It's so different once you get into the other guns, and it's just like, oh, I thought I was doing good with mastering this hero shot, but looky here. We have so many other things, and I feel like now that they're going to allow you to use different weapons in the single player, that'll allow the new people to get that much more of a head start in comparison to what we had when we first started playing.
And even if it's just like you can choose whatever weapon you want and go through it, that actually might even invite some replayability where, man, I'm getting my butt kicked by chargers. Maybe I want to try a charger. All right, I'm going to try out the single player with just chargers and see, like, just get used to actually fighting with it without being punished ostensibly online, you know, where you're like, I'm constantly getting my butt kicked, I feel bad because I'm letting my team down. With this, you're just on your own, doing your own thing and learning how to use that weapon.
True, because there's only so much you can learn in training mode.
Yeah, it doesn't do much. I never thought it helped me all that much. It got me a basic idea. I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, pretty much. I have some mixed feelings on how I'm hoping for it to work. Because on one hand, I do think it would be really neat if you could choose it from the get-go, and like if you have an arsenal and you can be like, oh, I really want to play this weapon, or oh, this weapon isn't working, let's try this other one, like you were saying. I feel like that would really add to the flexibility and allow people to experiment as they see fit. But at the same time, I feel like if you are required, at least on a first run of a level, if you're required to play through it with a specific weapon, then that might give them more creativity and more flexibility with what they can do with the level design.
That was actually my thought exactly. Like, I like the idea of being able to use whatever weapon I want, but there's really something to be said about them being able to craft levels specifically around each type of weapon.
Exactly.
And I mean, at first I thought that might be what they were doing when I first saw the Splatling in use, where I was shooting at that one target to bring it out. Like, it was just the way it was spinning. I was like, oh, that's so fast. But then I was looking at the others. I'm like, this doesn't look that specific at all. They're just, you know, in the same. So I'm not quite sure if that's the case. Plus, I saw the other evidence of the same different weapons being used in the same section, which kind of muddled it. But man, I mean, the way they showed it off, like the one that still impresses me the most is showing the blaster and using it to
the blaster's really cool.
Get past the shields, because that was annoying in the original, because what you'd have to do is throw out the sub-weapon and then shoot them from behind once they looked at it, which honestly isn't a viable tactic online. Nobody's going to get distracted by you throwing a sub-weapon.
Yeah, right.
They're gonna...
Well, I mean, in specific situations.
Yeah, true.
That's what suction bombs are for.
Good point. I would like I don't know which one I'd like them to go, but I know either way there's a lot of potential with what they can do.
Exactly. I feel like I almost would prefer it so that you're required to clear a stage with a certain weapon or the lineup of weapons that they have for you, and then you could go back and try it again with the others. Mm-hmm. I feel like I would almost prefer that. Not only because it would allow you to, it would allow them some flexibility with the stage, but also that it forces people to get into different weapon classes that they wouldn't try otherwise. Mm-hmm. Because the way I've noticed that the way that a lot of people play is that they'll play one weapon and then they'll think, oh, this is really fun. This is my main. And then they won't touch any of the other weapons until much later. I've seen a lot of that with the arrow spray specifically.
Oh, yeah.
Because it looks so powerful, you know?
Yeah, and I fell into that trap where I got the golden arrow spray. I liked the setup, and then I mainly stuck to it unless I played one of the other more competitive missions where I actually would try out the slosher instead. Because I like the way it arced and whatnot. So I fell into that trap completely, and I never quite got as good as the others. So I would like to see them find a way to encourage players to try out the different weapons. And actually, this is a thought that just occurred to me. It's like we got to see the user interface thanks to some of the screenshots, and there's this extra collectible, I suppose, next to the sunken scroll. And we have no idea what it is so far. And I almost wonder, wouldn't it be cool, and I don't know if this is going to be the case or not, I kind of doubt it, but I still think it would be kind of cool if that's sort of like a challenge where you can use any weapon you want, but you get this special whatever if you beat this level with this weapon.
That would be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it would strike a nice balance.
I never really thought of it like that.
Yeah, like I said, I doubt it's going to be that, but I think that'd be an excellent way to handle it, where they're like, you can have your freedom of choice, but hey, if you want to get this bonus, try out this weapon, get to it, try it out.
Yeah. I will say that looking at the silhouette, it almost makes me feel like it's a fish of some sort.
They are
just kind of taking a stab in the dark, obviously, but
yeah,
it looks like an anchovy.
It could be. I mean, they really are expanding the sea life selection thanks to the salmon run, which looks so much fun. I guess the other big thing to talk about, though, is the Octarians themselves. And we saw some returning ones like the Octo Troopers and the Shielded Octo Troopers and Octo Snipers and stuff like that. But then we, of course, got these really, really strange designs that's just so Splatoon. Like the guy spitting out dynamite.
Okay, that was like really gross. That was just like, it's especially when it was like super close up. I was like, oh.
Exactly. It's like, I don't need to see that. Gross. My personal favorite from what I've seen beyond the final two, but as far as normal enemies, I love the splatling ones because of that animation where they do their whole burst of like ink at you. It's rapid firing, but then they run out of breath and they got to do this huge inhale of air.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
And their eyes go back. It's like you can just sort of imagine that deep breath that they have to take where they're like, oh god, this sucks.
You can just feel it, right?
Yeah, it's so good.
In the way of the Octarians, I love the animations that they've been giving them and the animations that we've seen thus far. Like in your analysis, you pointed out how one of the Octarians is using one tentacle to rotate their little gun thing, their chair, I suppose, and they're using the other to like button mash on this thing to fire their bullets. And I'm like, that's such a neat little detail, because they didn't have to go through all of that trouble to animate that to that degree, you know?
Yeah.
But the fact that they did, I feel like adds so much charm to just the atmosphere.
They really show how this world works. Like, it's not some mystery. It's not like they can squirt ink, whatever. It's like, no, they're blowing into this thing. They're button mashing. They're working at controls. Like, there's actual thought being put into these. And it's just like, you can look at the design, like the missile guys. Like, I can look at that design. I know the front's going to be completely impervious, but I see the squishy ink, the squishy octopus center. Like, I'm going to ink that, and that'll take them out probably, hopefully.
Maybe, perhaps.
One can hope. But I gotta say, the blimps, those are that's truly intimidating, I find, just because they had that one screenshot and you can just see how high up it is and how big it is. Like, man, how am I supposed to take that down?
And they do have a weak spot, so you're supposed to take it down somehow.
Yeah, the charger wasn't reaching it, so good luck.
Here's a thought. Grind rails.
Ooh. See, I didn't think about grind rails. My thought was somehow super jumping onto them, but I saw...
Oh, that's true, too.
I saw multiple blimps, so I'm not sure if that's going to be the case or not. But it would be kind of cool to, like, jump up there, ink it, and then, like, make a mad dash to get to another super jump pad so you can get to the next one.
That would be really cool.
What'd you think of the bowling ball ones?
Those are really goofy.
Really
I like
are.
them. It's almost a little bit cute how they pop out and they're like looking around as they're rolling.
It's like, where to go?
Like they see me rolling.
And I like how you can just they show you can destroy them. They use a geyser to do it, but I'd assume if you have a good shot, you can take him out from within his little thumb hole.
Yeah.
I hope this is because it's such a cool design, but I think we got to see at least one of our bosses, probably our first boss, but likely definitely one of the bosses, in the form of the baked bread boss.
Okay. Can I just say that feels so Splatoon?
Yes.
That, just the concept alone just feels so Splatoon.
Yeah.
I as soon as I saw an oven and I saw the face in the little window, I was just like, oh no. Oh no, really? Are you serious? And then it turned out to be bread, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Not quite sure what they're doing to their allies, that they're baking them into bread, but okay.
I mean, it obviously gave them a power-up of some sort, right?
I guess so.
It's takoyaki to another level?
Something like that. And somebody actually did mention to me that because of the ink on their faces, it's almost like jelly bread.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So there's some
That's
thought behind it. I'm not sure if I'd want to eat octopus bread, but I guess that's why we're splatting them instead.
I mean, you could pick around the octopus. I don't know. There might be some interesting flavors there.
Maybe? I don't know. There's something really cool about it. It obviously has some way to spread ink because your inkling was caught in their ink as it was coming down. You would just happen to be just out of reach.
If I had to guess, it might be the vents.
That could be too.
If you looked at the vents on the side, it looked like they were covered in ink themselves, and almost like it was dripping. So I feel like it probably spews ink from that.
That would make sense. That would definitely, I could see that would definitely work. But Oh man, if that's our first boss that we're being introduced to, I cannot wait to see the creativity of the others.
I know, right?
Especially since we know DJ Octavio has escaped again, and I want to see, like, what are they going to do next?
Oh man, if it's anything like the first game, I'll definitely say that DJ Octavio's fight in the first game was just, it blew me away. Mm-hmm. That part completely blew me away.
Mm-hmm. Just the way it perfectly blended all the elements that you had learned up to that point. And
exactly. I'm hoping for something like that, where it takes everything new in Splatoon 2 and blends it into like a really hyped up fight like that. I'm just really excited in general.
And they can even bring back the old theme song too, because it'd be Callie Marie reuniting and using their song once again.
If they do reunite, ha ha ha.
That's true. Maybe DJ Octavio isn't the final boss. Maybe it's Cali.
Ha 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 ha. Tragic ending, ahoy.
At first, it seemed like Captain Cuttlefish had died because he wasn't around at all, and they weren't really talking about it. But it's not. But it sounds like they just say he's away at the moment. So I don't know. Maybe he's dead. That's my fan theory. Until he shows up in Splatoon 3, Captain Cuttlefish is dead. He's an old guy.
I mean, he could just be retired.
That could be it too. Let's hope he gets himself some proper threads. He's a little run down before.
I mean, if his hat was good enough for us, then hey, who's to say it wasn't good enough?
That's a good point. But I guess the only other Octarian that I can think of off the top of my head that's worth discussing is honestly the final one we saw, where he's this big guy on this little unicycle with
I love him.
Giant roller.
I love him.
I don't know why I didn't notice it until it was too late, because I was focusing on the tires that made up the roller. But there's actually an engine attached to the damn thing as well. Like that is yeah, at the base there's like an engine block you can see coming out of it.
I went to go look at it because I was like, wait, what? There's an engine? And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, holy crap, that's an engine.
Yep. You got some machinery going on here now, making it a little bit more interesting.
That I feel like this kind of brings me back to what I was saying earlier, is just how the thing that has been impressing me the most out of anything, well, besides the grind rails,
yeah,
is just the motif of everything and just how everything comes together and how just the amount of detail put into every single little thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't have to put this guy on a goofy little unicycle, but they did it.
Yeah, and it totally works. It just adds... Like, I love that little moment where his motion is synced up to the music. It's goofy, but it's so perfect.
Yeah.
This was a perfect trailer in my mind, because it just hyped me up beyond belief. There's so much detail, and I just want to play.
Me too.
But any other final thoughts on this new trailer for Splatoon 2?
I mean, I could gush about the atmosphere some more.
That's true.
And how I love the little sprinkles of like Japanese motifs everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
Marie in a kimono. That's pretty cool.
I like that new look of hers, like popping her in that kimono, that little shack next to her. Like, they're definitely
I love that,
keeping in the culture, and I appreciate that, because let's be honest, this is a very Japanese game if you just look at the city life of Inkopolis.
I do like how they are spreading that a little bit into the levels themselves as well. Like, the little not switches, but the little dials that you shoot at to make the platforms move. That's like modeled after the little spinny toy drum. That has the little marbles attached to strings.
Yeah, that's it. And then you spin it back and forth, and it hits the drums on the other side. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I noticed like little things like that here and there, and I'm a sucker for that kind of thing too. So that just pumped me up even more.
Yeah, I'm in the same way. I'm excited to see more of the sunken scrolls, because I love the lore that they introduced for that. It's like it was surprisingly dark.
Agreed. I'm so glad that they're bringing that back. Like, as soon as I saw the sunken scroll icon, I was just like, "Yep,
I gotta get him.
This is it.
Gotta get him. Let's see the explanation behind Little Judd.
Oh, we already know he's a clone, right?
I mean, he has to be.
That's canon.
I would assume so. That'd be my guess. But we'll see, I suppose. He's cute though.
Oh, he's adorable. I love him.
But alright, I think that covers it for our Splatoon 2 discussion, so thank you for watching. And if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And Masae, where can they find you at?
I am pretty much everywhere on the internet. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I actually do Splatoon streams where I play with viewers and stuff like that every once in a while, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing that with Splatoon 2.
Likewise. I know you are deadly in Splatoon. Like I when I play, I mainly worry about getting ink down because when I play Turf War, you are all about killing fools.
Oh yeah, I'm all about blood.
Ink will be spilt.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm rusty though, so I'm gonna save myself for Splatoon 2.
I'm looking for I'm really glad to have the test fire because I could feel how rusty I was when I first played.
Same.
But by the end, I got used to the new control scheme. I wasn't accidentally pushing X to jump.
That was a thing. I had forgotten about that, but yeah, that happened more than a few times.
Oh yes. But man, I cannot wait to play more because it's just pure fun. And sticking it in July, this is my summer game. I cannot wait.
This is my game of the year.
It's been a hell of a year, that's for sure.
Oh, most definitely.
But anyways, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Splatoon and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.
Bye.